Hello and welcome to the New York Jewish Film Festival. The festival is brought to you by the Jewish Museum and Film at Lincoln Center, and I'm Lisa Collins, a member of the selection committee team. And welcome, Danielle. And I would love to just talk a little bit about your super excellent film, Who's Afraid of Alice Miller. I found it super harrowing and just a film that explores identity and how we present ourselves as humans in such a captivating way. I just wanted to commend you on that before speaking with you about it, and maybe hear a little bit about the film from your own perspective.
Yeah, I can tell you how the idea for this film emerged somehow, no? Because it's kind of connected when I was younger. I was at university, I studied philosophy as my main topic. And in this in this education, of course, we also read the books of Alice Miller. Just on the side
Oh,
is
mhm.
psychology, but I knew them. Everybody knew them at this time. And many years later, I heard about. I was sitting in the car driving through the night, and I heard a radio program, and there was a guy, and they spoke about Alice Miller, and then I understood he is the son of Alice Miller. And I was this was already an information I didn't have. I didn't know she had kids actually. And then I started to understand the interviewer was because he published his book and he was going to tell how the situation at home actually was. And as you can imagine, I was like many people when they see the film, you kind of, what? How can this
Yeah.
happen? And immediately the next day, I started to, I wrote him an email and was thinking
Oh,
maybe other people already started to make a film, wanted to make a film with him, but
right.
no, it wasn't like this. And that's how I met him. And then there was a period of knowing each other, building up some trust, and that's how this project evolved. You know, I still remember the moment when I saw him. I mean, you can feel he is not so well. He was also physically not well, and had problems with his legs and so his knees. But I was until today, I was very much touched by the fact that in the middle of Switzerland, a bit outside of Zurich, where everything is quite bourgeois and normal, and
Yeah.
there was even no war in Switzerland. He was born after the war, and Switzerland was not really, was never occupied by the Nazis. And still, I met in 2016, I think it was, or 15, I'm meeting a man who is still a victim of the Holocaust. And
Yes.
this
Yeah.
was something which, of course, intellectually somehow, and but really to meet somebody who has not even seen a gun once, or just born in this country, but all this misery and this incredible atrocities are in a
Yeah.
mystical way transferred somehow. And this was really the point where I thought, this I have to make a film about this.
Yeah, yeah. I found that the way you followed him, even walking, and allowed
Mhm.
the audience to feel the difficulty of
Yeah,
his, physical self, his physicality, and that you can tell that he's not well. How he sort of himself embodies this pain, and I feel like one of the great things of the film is it really makes you stop and think about how many people are walking around you sort of holding, you know
true.
holding pain from generations past, that have transferred down into them, holding their own pain. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I wonder if you thought about that maybe when you allowed him to walk and be shown in such a full three-dimensional way when you were filming.
Yes, but I was at a certain moment. It was quite clear he is very open and courageous. Somehow, he really was ready to do this and to just to be himself. And I'm grateful for that, because I know it's not easy to be filmed during weeks and always
Yeah,
be in the center, but you know, he is a psychotherapist himself, and it's funny, but he sometimes he told me, okay, I try to help sometimes people. I have my therapies, my methodology, but now it's the time I have to jump into it myself and to expose myself. And I felt this is very courageous of him, and so I didn't have to convince him somehow. He was just ready
he was just ready.
to go
Hmm.
there, to show himself, and to
Hmm.
go into this. And he didn't know actually what it was what was expected from him. It is not a staged documentary. I did many research trips to Poland before with my co-writer and partner Anina Butterworth, and we had an idea what we want to go to do, but I communicated to Martin, I will not tell you everything, because I want you to react on a emotional, sincere level. We don't want to stage this. And okay, he said,
Great,
okay, I do it.
great, great, great. I know films mean various things to the watchers, to the filmmakers themselves. What does this film mean? I know there's a synopsis, but what does this film mean to you or signify? Like if you were to just encapsulate what it feels like today, because who knows, next week it could feel something else.
It's
But what
true.
does it feel like?
Well, it is, in fact, it is this point that to really feel and see and understand on a deeper level what how destructive war can be,
Mm-hmm.
and how it is not finished when it's finished. I know this is somewhere written in the director's note, but it stays with me. I think this is the most important thing, that trauma, they not just finished one day. And if you not bring them on the daylight somehow, we have no chance to overcome this. This is still for me the heart of the film. And on the other hand, I must say, he is not alone in this movie. There is his aunt, cousin somehow, and
Yes,
she is like the counterpart somehow, because she really went through the Holocaust experience, and yet she has such a strong positive attitude towards life. And I think many time of her, because it you can feel the power she has, and she is like showing Martin somehow another way to deal
yes,
with these traumas. And this stays with me, and I think this will not change in a week. This is really something strong.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah, there's so much that she's learned how to, cope and be resilient in the face of what this like horrific anti-Semitism and
Yeah.
acts of horror from the war,
Mhm.
how they rained down upon generations, and yet she's somehow able to navigate her way through. I felt that
Mhm.
the other people as well, interestingly, the friend of Alice Miller's sister.
Yes, right. This is
Yeah,
un
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
she was also quite powerful. And
strong.
did you have, I mean, I was wondering what it was like to be around so many people, so many people involved in the, psychologists, psychiatrists, so many people involved in sort of thinking deeply, like how did the shoots ever end? How was it helpful to you actually during your filmmaking process to be around all that sort of really layered thoughtfulness? Because I really found everybody was quite absorbing who you chose to include.
No, yeah, well, I mean, the shooting was quite stressful and complicated because also Poland is not the easiest country to shoot, and I mean, let's say it like this. After the shooting, I was 1 year editing the film with my editor, and there I could see much more again how what else these people are telling, how deep it is. But of course, these people you see in the movie, this is the result of a long research. I found them during the research, and we had really long conversations before. And I think there I could feel this richness of those thoughts. So, because I
Hmm.
always understand I cannot just go with Martin alone and
Right.
run and gun. You he need the it is a documentary, yes, but my wish was always to somehow to find a storytelling like a fictional movie, not in the sense that it's staged, as I said, but in the
Yeah.
sense you not have a narrator explaining you things, but really have real scenes where they encounter each other and you have emotional impact. And that's why I was
Yeah.
searching for those people around Martin.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, read that you have a dramaturg background, and I
Yeah.
really feel like it plays like that, like this mystery that keeps unfolding really, hauntingly and
Yes.
beautifully. And it just sort of, holds you as you're finding out more and more about Alice. And I think one thing that, is often played with in fiction that people try to avoid in documentary is that sort of the unreliable subject. Are they telling the truth? Are they not telling the truth? And sort of
Yes.
having to go through that. And I found a bravery in that, both as you're following, Alice's
Yeah.
story and as you're following Martin's story. Um, was it challenging or something exciting to be in the middle of so many juxtapositions of, is this truth? Is this not truth? How is that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It was challenging and also thrilling somehow because uh, okay, I don't know, I don't want to spoil the movie because as you say, it has kind of a
Yeah,
suspense which is going on, which helps to go through the film. But there are several facts. Some of them I found out before in my researches, but not completely. And in the movie, this is real. We really try to fight and to find out, is can we say this, what is the truth, what really happened. And it's so hard because you have the archives and you won't find the absolute truth. This is I think
right.
every historian has this experience somehow, but this was challenging, but it's also a part of the movie as
Yeah,
storytelling process, but also a part of a psychological travel, a trip. I mean, this is what you have to go through, what Martin has to understand. Okay, I have to go this way, but maybe at the end, I have to understand and accept somehow I can feel something, guess something, presume something, but never be 100% sure. I think this is also psychological, like a
yes,
psychotherapy, a little
yes,
bit.
yeah,
Huh?
yeah, yeah. I think I wrote it like a psychological historical mystery. I was
Yes,
trying to think of all these different words for it when I first was trying to sort of encapsulate my feelings about how excited I was to watch it. Um, Turning a little bit towards Alice Miller herself.
mhm,
Her, I remember in some portion that her grandfather was Orthodox and
Right.
had lived in Poland and was a man who was quite an important person in that community, who was more a bit of a judge. Um, my recollection when the archives are playing. I'm just wondering if, you know, whether or not, if there was anything that you thought of that from Alice's father to her grandfather that might have also impacted her, in addition to the horrors that she lived through and how she had to subvert her identity. Was there anything
Yes,
there?
yes, it's not so much part of the movie because we just have to make a
Yeah.
selection, and
Yes.
we I shot beautiful scenes where we find the house which is still there, the family house somehow, which is now in the hand of a Polish Catholic woman. She was
Oh,
quite
interesting.
embarrassed, but anyway,
Yes. Yes.
open it.
Yeah.
And there, strange enough, there is still the old picture of the grandfather of the family
Wow.
still hanging on the wall. And we said, wow, strange how it comes.
Wow.
Oh, it is some kind of a memory. And interestingly, it's also Irenka's grandfather, no?
Right. Right.
And she had a lovely memory, sweet memory. She always told me he was putting her on the table, gave her sugar, and he was very sweet. On the other hand, Alice if you read her documents, if you listen to Martin, what he remembers, she has a very difficult relationship to her father because she felt this straight, lawful
Mm-hmm.
parents who were kind of not so open-minded, following the rules. And she, as a young girl, a young woman, wanted to break out. And she was. I remember one nice story. She had how do you say, the house guard, the man looking after the house somehow, who helped her on Saturday
Okay.
to
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
her the
Yes. Yes.
books so she could escape to the
Mhm.
school because she wanted to learn. And yeah, stuff like this. She was in conflict with the religious ideas and the orthodox way of her parents, obviously.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. So that explains a little bit. I think I remember that she even taught when they were trying to escape. She was teaching little pieces of resistance. Is that
She was
correct? Or she was trying to teach while she was trying to get the ID cards and get them
That's
out.
also true. She in Piotrkov, this is the hometown of the family,
Yeah.
and there was the Nazis built the first ghetto in Poland in this little town, and Alice was amongst the first, and she was 16. I mean, it's crazy. She organized a secret school in this
Mm-hmm.
ghetto and was teaching there the young children under big dangers somehow. And then later she she had to escape, and she escaped to Warsaw. But it's true, she was really very engaged, which on the other hand makes Martin, which is some painful somehow for Martin, because he told me why she was fighting when she was very young. She was under danger, she was fighting and taking great risks, but when my father hit me, she didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And for him this is disturbing. I understand, it's hard to
Yes.
understand what's going on, no?
Yeah. Yeah. For the viewer as well, it's like suddenly you're sitting there and thinking, "Oh my gosh, she lived through such hellacious times and circumstances, and was resilient and survived, and
Right.
yet, you know, the the person she was to defend perhaps the most, she couldn't."
She
And
could,
I
yeah.
and I'm yeah, and I won't share more so that any of the plot is given away. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's a very it's a very rich tension
Yeah.
that I guess strings itself throughout the film. Speaking of which, I feel like the haunting voice over or
Yeah. Yeah.
the voice artist who did that. Can you maybe talk a little bit about um, choosing who you chose to be the voice of Alice Miller and how working with that, reading the letters, how that process was?
Yeah. It was, I mean, it was really my idea to, because she is not alive anymore, and it's always
Hmm.
difficult to have it in a documentary, and you want to bring it alive. And I decided very early that the texts, those are letters and some published text of Alice. They are real, but of course the voice is making an interpretation.
That's right. Yes.
I wanted to create a character which shows, I mean, you will feel if you see the whole movie, it's kind of a development. She has different sides, and this was really quite yeah, important to me to bring it near. But it's true, it's also it's an interpretation. I never met Alice Miller, no. I just how I felt through these letters. There are about 2,000 letters between Martin and his mother, and I read a lot of them.
Wow.
And so you really get
Hmm.
a feeling, no, of how her ambivalence somehow, no? And this voice should express this.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and clearly Martin was, and Martin himself has seen the film, I assume.
Yes, sure,
Okay,
many.
and I'm just curious what just what his overall, what energy he's given you back about the film itself.
I was very anxious, of course, to
Of
show him the
course.
first time, no?
Yeah.
And but he was very patient and very fair. He didn't push me, and the film was nearly finished. Technically, not completely finished,
Mhm.
but he came with his wife, and yeah, he was obviously very touched somehow. And
Mhm.
I expected he will say, "Yeah, okay, but don't you cannot show this or this." Nothing. He really accepted
Wow.
the film as a whole. Then he saw it again, and he saw new aspects in it, and he was very positive. Yeah, there was no conflict on this side. No.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
That's
that's
great.
really
And you had said Arenka, unfortunately,
yeah.
she had passed away shortly after the process. Was she able to see any of it, or just know that she was a participant? In,
No, it is this is painful. She just saw some stills of the shooting, and that's it. Because
Mhm.
somehow it came, we knew her, she was very sick, but on the other hand, she went back to the United States, and there was a treatment who was looking quite good, and
Mhm.
very quickly it turned around, and it was it was the end, no. And it's sad somehow. It's not somehow very sad because
Yeah.
I would have
Mhm.
been proud to show her the movie. I could show now to her. She has three
Yeah.
children,
Oh, great.
and they
Mhm.
saw the movie. They are also in different parts in the US, and I think they all like it very much. And
Yeah.
of course, also to see her mother again. And yeah,
Yeah. I'm sure it was very meaningful for her to participate in it, even when she was sick. I'm sure it was one of what a special achievement, or whether or not it's just a confession, or just a retelling, or just announcing her story.
Yeah.
being able to speak her story, I'm sure it was a very special thing, even if she didn't get to see it, that it meant to her. So it's sort of a great thing that
That's true.
she, yeah, that she was able to participate in that way. Um, did you find certain things? Well, I was going to say, what was your feeling? Maybe the better to say, what was your feeling? There are these places where Irenka and Martin went, where she would be explaining to him things and certain levels, one or two was sort of somewhat traumatic, but then there were bigger places like where the family was forced to separate, all of these things.
Yeah.
How did you film there with respect and sort of gentleness? Like
Yeah.
what was that like, those sort of days where you're actually visiting a place where ghosts and horrors were taking place and people were living? What were those days like for you and your team? I don't even know, was it just you or a
No,
few
no,
people?
we had quite a team. It was actually quite big, and also because they were not both not in a good health situation.
Mm-hmm.
Irenka, you don't see it very much on the screen, and but when the camera was rolling, she had some power inside her body. I don't know, no? But
Yes.
when it was not rolling, you could feel she is not so well. So I had somebody was taking care of them. We had a assistant and a second assistant, and it was a little crew. Let's say six people around always. But it was very smooth, and I felt I had the camera guy was very sensitive man, no? And those scenes you speaking about now, or you have, I guess, in your mind where they were separated, those things were not planned like this. It just happened. And
Great.
especially Irenka, she has a kind of she can just let her go and is very transparent personality and has no fear to show her feelings, how she is. She was from the first moment, she was completely natural. She was not a little bit disturbed by the camera,
Mhm.
which is normally people
Yes.
they look to the lens sometimes, and
Right.
Martin in the editing room and oh no, he looks to the camera again, and it's kind of normal. Irenka just it was just natural to her, and I think for her it was a big step to come to Poland again. At the moment she was there, she told me she knew also she wanted to do it for Martin, for the film, but also for her to have a circle, to go once more back. She felt she will not live for
Mm-hmm.
long, long, long time. We didn't expect this, but she wanted to go through these emotions again. I think to accomplish something, to find a new
Yeah.
perspective, and so
Yeah.
she was open, really.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like, she both respected but also wanted the truth about her cousin to be out
Yeah,
there so that Martin's truth could be respected about what his experience
yeah,
itself, was. It definitely felt like that. And I'm curious with you just in terms of Alice Miller, that it was how she referenced her own son, as calling him her torturer, and
yeah,
her, that he himself was, a form of a Nazi in a way, like, which is just per- perhaps one of the heaviest things I
yeah,
can imagine that could be stated between parent and child or anything like that.
right.
So, I was curious to find out what your thoughts were about that she studied or referenced Hitler, and his youth and trying to sort of figure out something there. And then whether or not you feel like Martin was able to uh, get to another level, maybe through the process of this film, of making peace with so many different forms of abuse, psychological, physical, etc.
Yeah, I think it's a bit like this. Understanding helps a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really strong, as you say. It's one of the worst you can imagine that you. But of course, he is a smart guy, and he understands that she herself had a complete separation. She didn't speak. She never. He knew she was. My mother is Jewish, and she comes from Warsaw, and he had some details, but actually there was a taboo. Don't ask. And also even Irenka, you must understand Irenka and Alice, they during their lifetime they were always calling from Irenka was in Santa Fe,
Oh,
she lived
okay.
in Santa
Hmm.
Fe, Alice in the south of France, and they were kind of friends, difficult friends. Irenka told me, but she said I loved her, and I was troubled, and I to see what happened to her son, and that's one of the strong reasons she wanted to come to help, to help Martin to understand, because for her she loved his mother, but she saw the other side. And she told also stories. Once Alice went to, I think, to LA to have a lecture when she was quite young. I think in the must have been in the late 80s. And when somebody asked her about you come from Poland, are you Jewish, she would run away and
Oh, really?
just
Mhm.
stop the discussion. This is a taboo, and I think to understand, to see this for Martin, how strongly she separated an important part of her life, makes him understand how she could do such crazy things as accusing her own son as a Hitler, which is absurd, no? And at the same
Mhm.
time, trying to find out about Hitler's childhood. But at this time, when she published this book and this theory, which is not the smartest theory of all, no, but
Mhm.
anyway, she tried
Mhm.
to. Nobody knew she is Jewish. She had Jewish origins. She hid
Oh,
it.
wow. Okay.
It's
Mhm. Mhm.
very
Mhm.
strange, no? And to understand all this from Martin, it, as I said, it helps a bit to find some peace. He told me he it helped him in the sense of he could leave them in Poland now, to bring something back to Poland where it belongs, which gives him kind of freedom back.
Mhm.
But he would get angry if I would say, or if somebody asked him, do you finally could forgive everything to your parents? He would say no. I can understand, but as a son, I there's still these feelings. I will never completely forgive. No.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is something I learned from him, and I understand. Okay, it's not that easy. It's not that.
Right. Right. It's at least it's about sort of some being more enlightened about the
Exactly.
circumstance
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than yeah,
Right.
and a continued work in progress.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, I'm just curious if you have any share any special um, plans that the film itself has, in addition to playing at our festival this year. Um, we'd
Yes.
love to find out, are there any things that you have ahead with the film, and or if you have any projects coming up that you'd like to briefly mention?
Projects are not ready yet to speak about.
Yes.
No, but I really want to make this film as visible as possible, no? And already now I can feel I can just before we start conversation, I saw a mail. I didn't read it, but from a film festival of Canada who saw it. The film is now on your festival, and I
Oh,
really
that's
hope
great.
it has kind of how can I say in English, an effect so other people, other festivals see it, so I can spread it. No, I really want to make it visible. And on a later stage, there is also a TV version, which is much shorter. Of course, it's
Hmm.
not my
Yes.
favorite, but okay, it's
Yes.
there. At the later stage, we will sell this to TV stations, and then at the end, of course, also make it available for streamings. In Switzerland, the film was in theaters, and it was quite. I mean, for a film like this, it was successful until the pandemic came back somehow.
Yes.
And there's a big audience also, psychotherapists, psychology, all those people are really jumping on it. And my wish would be to make a cinema release in other countries, which is not so easy, I know, but this is what we are looking for a little bit, no, for Germany, for yeah,
Hmm.
why not in the United States? But I guess it's hard, especially now. No?
Yeah. Yes. 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 But I do think, it's so timely, when, well, everybody's so concerned with what is reality right now,
Yeah,
politically, psychologically, all of these different things. I think that there's something very special about it and it being out there right now. So I know that we're glad to be a part of, you know, having it put forth onto the world.
yes,
And yes, and just wishing you all the best and congratulations again, and thanking
thank,
you for your time and for your film on
thank you very
behalf of the New York Jewish Film Festival.
yeah, thank you. I'm
Thanks
happy to
again,
be
Daniel.
part of it. Thank you very
Right.
much.
Yeah, take care.
Take care.